Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. Today we're talking to Soren Harrison about fit dads and how to stay fit, healthy, and happy even when you have the responsibility of taking care of a family. Thank you for joining us today.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Health in the Real World podcast brought to you by My Core Balance. What do you think your body would look and feel like if you continued to move like you did when you were a kid? Go to mycorebalance.com and join the program. Enter promo code podcast to get 10% off of your monthly membership. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today with Soren Harrison of Fit Daddy 365. How you doing today, Soren?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Doing really, really well. Kids' first day of school was yesterday, so it's a quiet house. So
relief.
Kind of different. It's a little weird. I feel like an empty nester here.
You're lucky. You're lucky.
Yeah. So Soren and I, between the two of us, we have 9. You have 5, right? Yeah. So we have 9. I have 4. This is crazy. You can't get more real world than this in the Health in the Real World podcast than 5 kids and 4 kids. So we're going to come at you guys today with some very practical tips. And if any of you comment in the comment section, say I have no time, just look at us. Soren, you just mentioned you didn't sleep, right? You haven't been sleeping, or did you? I haven't been sleeping. Nobody's sleeping. So I wanted to start it off. So in the era of COVID and, we have no access to gyms or very limited, and, there's like a dumbbell shortage online and stuff like this, right? Because everyone's trying to buy equipment. I wanted to start this off with some strategies that you talk to people about, or some things that you do yourself that come mainly from just you knowing about health and fitness, as opposed to you relying on a specific piece of equipment or prop or anything like that. What are some tips that you can give people?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, and one thing that I always tell dads, is habit is better than discipline, right? And so if you can be in the habit of a simple body weight workout, rather than having to think like, and this is an advantage of this time when you don't have access to the gym, you may not have a bunch of equipment at home. And I really think about like, how can you get in the habit of doing the same workout or a series of workouts over and over and over and over, so you don't have to think, right? Keep it super simple. You can do tons with just a body weight workout. And so I would say, make it a habit, right? And that's no matter what you're doing. You might think, I'm not at the gym, I don't have my favorite rack or something.
Right. No
matter what you're doing, when you're consistent and it's habitual, you're going to see results, right? And you're going to make progress. And so that's what I would say.
So what do you tell that person who either has never developed that habit, or maybe they had the habit in the gym, like you said, they had the favorite squat rack or whatever, and now they don't? What do you tell that person?
Yeah. Keep it really simple.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to go out and do a 2-hour killer workout when you're just starting and you don't have the habit, right? Keep it really simple. And one thing I like to say is lower the bar to success, right? I prescribe a 5-minute bodyweight workout every day. Nice. And, when you prioritize doing things consistently, sometimes it means you have to lower that bar, right? If you can't work out for a half hour and you've got kids' school and you've got to run and do an errand, you're trying to keep up with work on Zoom, shorten your workout, but make sure you get it in, right? And I think that's the key thing for me in my experience and what I see work with dads. Keep it really simple, right? Eliminate thinking about it, because that thinking becomes friction, right? You just sort of basically have to, eliminate any negotiability. I'm doing this every single day. It takes me 5 minutes. Yes, I have 5 minutes. I know I've wasted at least 25 already today, right? Like, keep it really short and simple.
That's huge. A couple of years ago, I made a goal. I went to this place called the gym when they were still around, and the membership was maybe, it was probably 2 or 3 times more than I really was able to spend, but it's the best gym in the area. I said, I got to join this gym. And I made a pact with myself. I said, my goal is that I need to go to the gym every single day. And when I stop, I can miss one day, but if I miss 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, I'm quitting this gym. And making that the goal instead of working out every day. My goal was literally to walk in the door every day. So there were 2 or 3 days over the course of maybe 6 months. I literally walked in the gym, took a shower, and left. But that was a victory. I'm like, yes, you did it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and the power of habit. And I think this is great that you're talking, it sounds like you're talking sort of to either beginners or people who have fallen off that wagon, because when you have that momentum, let's say you have 6 months or a year under your belt, it's so easy. This is what people who are not in the habit, I think, maybe don't realize. It seems like such an effort to get that momentum going. And I think that's a message that I like saying, is that once you get it going, it is so easy. It's hard not to work out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And I think, this is something I learned I made a New Year's resolution, and this daily workout, I call it the Daily Kickstarter. This daily workout is actually based off of this principle, but I said, I'm going to do, this was like 2006, I'm going to do 100 push-ups every single day this year. And I did it. And January 1st, I woke up and I was like, I'm not doing any push-ups. And I felt awful because, right, your biochemistry, you get addicted to it. And I was like grumpy. So I was like, oh, you know what? I got to do my push-ups. And so the cool thing is, to your point, is once you get that momentum, part of why it's easier is you're wired to go do that thing, right? And so when you're no longer relying on discipline, and you're no longer relying on grit just to get off the couch, right? But you're like, your body wants it, your mind wants it, right? Then it's that much easier, right? That's like a piece of that momentum is a micro addiction. Now we're not talking about like I run 100 miles a day and my knees are broken and I've worn myself out. We're talking about just enough to keep you hooked in a really healthy way. So
yes, I think that's huge, and I think one really important thing is to find a level that you're comfortable with that's slightly, like you said, a micro addition, slightly outside of your range. And it's okay to stick there for a while, right? It's okay to stick like 100 push-ups, boom, 100 push-ups, boom, 100 push-ups, boom. You're not thinking, man, maybe I should do 110 push-ups today. But it's just like, no, let's just keep it 100 push-ups. Like, let's just keep it simple, right? So that sounds great. Like you were very successful that year doing 100 push-ups a day, 365 days. Is there any place where you struggle in health and fitness, and places you've had to overcome and different strategies you can maybe give to the beginner?
Yeah, for sure. My nutrition is the place where I struggle. I think that's pretty common. But even as a trainer, right? Even as a coach, my nutrition is the tough thing. And for me, I grew up chocolate, ice cream, sodas, like all the time. I come home from school and I'm like an addict.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the big thing still, like my sugar intake. And it is really like an addictive behavior. It's not just like, oh, I like sugar. It's like, oh, cool, there's a gallon of ice cream. Let me eat the whole thing, right? And so I have to be really careful about managing that. And it's just an ongoing struggle, right? It's so easy because, to undo what you just did in the gym, or you just did on a run, or you just did in your garage with like a couple of scoops of ice cream, or a couple of, candy bars, or, a small bag of chips even. So I think for me, the real struggle is around nutrition.
Yeah.
And I found for me, all or nothing is often a really important thing for me to understand. I'm better when I'm not having any, because I have a little, and it's like, what is Will Ferrell, and I forget the movie, like, it hits your lips, it's so good.
Right.
And I have a little, and that's what happens, right? I'm like, I'll just have a little more. So I often do best where I'm like, I'm going to be really strict about no sugar, right? I'm going to keep my carbs below some number. I do really well. The other thing is I do really well when I have a cheat. And so that would be like cacao and coconut oil and some walnuts and like maybe some sweetener sometimes,
Yeah.
right? But some
Something
sort
that's
of like
healthy, but not like super healthy, but it still gives you that sweet tooth type.
yeah, and I throw some blueberries in there. I like a natural fruit, and I start to replace and say that's an okay dessert,
Yep.
right? Because I don't get that same addictive behavior around things like that. And so what I try to do is have those replacement things. And the third thing is, if it comes into the house, I'm going to eat it.
Discipline at the grocery store, right? Don't
What's
buy
that?
it, you won't eat it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's moderation, there's no control.
Yep.
Like, if it comes in, I'm going to eat it. So don't buy it. So those are the three things that I struggle with, and sort of things I try to
Yeah,
do.
definitely. Don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, stuff like that. I find for me too, I struggle with food. I have probably maybe not so much anymore, but definitely when I was probably up until 30 years old, I had the biggest appetite out of anybody I knew. Like you could, the biggest big guy that I knew, I could out eat him. And so for me, the sweet tooth gets completely killed when I feel full. If I feel full, like I ate a big meal, big healthy meal, even if it was 1.5 pounds of meat with a huge salad and some veggies and sweet potatoes, even if somebody looks at it and goes, "Oh my God, that can't be healthy because there's so much food there." If it's healthy food, keeps me satiated. It's going to keep me away from the dessert. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah,
Yeah. One other thing I noticed with my like chocolate addiction
yeah,
is that when I started having healthy fats and obviously some other stuff like fiber and protein, right, feeling satiated, but those healthy fats, I think that there was your body tells you what you want, right?
yeah,
Like what you need. And so when I was having those healthy fats and transition to that, then those cravings went away, to your point, right? Like if you're satiated and you're getting the stuff that you need, in this case, a healthy fat, then you're not going to want it, right? And so I think high fiber, high protein, start your day off that way, and make sure you're including those healthy fats and you have the phytonutrients, right? Like when your body's getting the good stuff, it stops craving those things, right? And when you're having these cravings, unless it's like an emotional eating thing, but if it's like a physical craving, it's probably because your body's like, hey, I didn't get enough of X, Y, or Z. Give me more, and I'm going to consume until I get enough, right? So that could be water, that could be vitamins, minerals, it could be any number of things. And so I think that's a real key is, to your point, have a big healthy meal, right? Obviously, you watch intake, but that makes a big difference for staving off those cravings.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What would you tell somebody who, let's say, knows nothing about health, right? They're like, I haven't heard any of these concepts before. So you're starting from a blank slate. You're building them up one step at a time. What's maybe the 3 to 5 things absolutely 100% foundational so that somebody watching this can either say like, oh, cool, I'm doing that already, or, oh yeah, I need to get started with that.
Yeah. Trying to think, there's a couple of ways I want to answer. I think in our program, we go through the Fit Daddy fundamentals, and these are 7 fundamental principles that we as dads need to implement in our lives. The first 3 are move daily, eat clean, and sleep deep, right? And the remaining 4 are important, but those first 3 are super important, right? And so if you go walk, we know how to walk. Go for a walk for 30 minutes. Eat clean, read labels. If it has more than a couple of ingredients, and any of them are sugar or syrup, they include those words, don't buy them, don't eat them, right? So unprocessed stuff. If the ingredient says broccoli or olive oil, probably okay,
Right, things that you would cook yourself, right?
Yeah. So eating clean is super important. In fact, that's the most, even though I don't start with it, it's the most important thing. It will create your gains in terms of whether you're growing muscle or losing fat, and it will erase everything else that you're doing.
Yep.
And sleep is super important.
Yep.
If you're not sleep can undo it all too. I sort of compare it to having a hole in your bucket, right? And you're filling your bucket with all these good things, and if you're not getting enough sleep, those good things are going to slide right out through that hole in the bucket.
Right.
And so I think, those recommendations: go for a walk every day, pay attention to eating clean, and turn all your lights off and all your devices and get in a really dark room as early as possible and let your body do that work and get you to sleep and get enough of it. So
That's huge. I think legitimately that is 90% of the battle.
Mhm.
And if you're hitting all those, that's an A minus, 90% A minus, and then
Yeah.
you can add from there, right? Yeah.
The
So,
other, just wanted to add one thing. Another
yeah,
way to
definitely.
consider is like look at your kids. How do your kids live? They run around, right? They get up. They don't sit all day like this. At least they shouldn't be, right? Like we're designed, right? Like if you want to be healthy and you want to be fit, like hang out with those kids who are always moving, right? Who are super flexible, who are resilient, and you know they work them. They get themselves so tired that they crash at night, right?
Yep.
And that's like a good example. Like we sort of lose that childlike quality
Yeah.
because we think we have to go sit at our desks all day at school and at work, and but really we've got to move, right? And look, there are jobs where you have to sit at that desk, you have to sit at that computer. Get up every half hour, every hour, right? Like you sort of like go back to the way a more natural life would be, right? Get a standing desk, those types of things. And think about your kids, right? If you can hang and play with your kids all day, you're going to be going in the right direction. So,
Yeah, I think using the kids as a barometer is great. I think this was maybe six. Yeah, it must have been 6 years ago because my son was two.
mm-hmm.
I sat down with the pen and paper and I watched and I wrote down every movement he did in a 15-minute time frame,
uh-huh.
and I gave that to my clients the next day. They were dead. They were like, "This is the hardest workout I've ever done." I said, "Well, this is the toddler workout. This is what my son, 2-year-old son, did yesterday." It was hilarious. And then that's one cool thing. Obviously, they can just move all day. I remember even in middle school, right? Like just running for an hour, 2, 3 hours straight and not being tired at all.
mm-hmm.
And then another thing I've noticed, this is really cool. And I think a lot of us have, uh, clean plate syndrome type of thing. Like, our parents said something like, "Oh, there are starving kids somewhere on the globe, so you need to eat all your food." Uh, Little kids have no qualms about they'll take 2 bites of dinner and be like, "Let's go play," and it's like they're just not hungry. Like you're never gonna see a 4-year-old overeat
Mm-hmm.
unless they're eating bad food. You're
Right.
putting cokes and hot dogs in front of them. They're gonna overeat that because they're never gonna feel full. But the good quality food, it's like 2 bites, I'm done, I'm out. I don't care about anything else other than I want to go play because I feel nourished. So I think that's really, again, exactly what you're saying. Kids, and when we were kids, we had it. We had it in us.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
knew what to do. We didn't have to go to the nearest health guru or gym or anything like that. And I think it's something that, as a culture, I think in general we've lost because of a lot of things. Stress, um, overbooking our schedule, and having to rely on fast food and jobs where we're literally sitting all day. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is one change at a time, right? Would you agree with that? Making one change at a time and moving in the right direction
Yeah.
toward a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think to that point, we've made it like it has to be so hard. Like you got it. You can't walk after that workout. And I'm not actually like anti leaving it all on the floor, right? Like that's great. Sometimes you need to do that.
Yeah.
But we've associated like pain, discomfort, and unhappiness with exercise. Whereas it should be like, this is super enjoyable. I feel good, and I think triggering that biochemistry to maximize sort of the pleasure of what you're doing is super important, right? Especially at the beginning, because we have these weird, socially we've gone to these weird places that keep us from doing healthy things. So I think as much as you can make it easy and comfortable and happy, great, right?
I agree, 100%. Cool. Well, Soren, the first time we talked for what, like an hour and a half. We could definitely go all day. We'll bring you back on the show in the future. But this is Soren Harrison, Fit Daddy 365. Tell everyone who's watching how to get in touch with you, how to work with you.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, FitDaddy365. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn/in/Soren4. And you can go to fitdaddy365.com and find me in any of those places. And any dads out there, love to help you. Love to, answer any questions and just support you, right? My mission is to serve dads and ultimately serve dads as a mechanism to to serve our children and sort of, you know, transform that next generation. So happy to help at all, and really appreciate this time with you, Chris. I love it, and it's fun to you know, talk with you, and knowing that we have this shared experience of all of these kids.
Just a zoo of kids, just kids everywhere.
Yeah.
It's awesome though. It's super fun. Nice. All right. Thank you so much, Soren. Thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.